This is Perry Adolph coming to you live from the Hustle Corner, New York City, saying thank you so much for joining us again in this part 2 of our series with molestation survivor Sandy Freese. We discuss what she could have done and with the traumatic experiences that she went through, why she did not go to the authorities about it, who else in her family was affected, and whom this particular person that has subjected her to what she went through reminds us, or reminds me, or remind you of one such other person that existed in 2007. So with that said, join us, join the discussion. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be with us. This is Perry Duff coming to you live from the Hustle's Corner, New York City. Enjoy the show. Now, I got to stop you right there.
Yes.
You really want to know what gets me about this?
What's that?
I'm going to tell you what it gets me about this. What gets me about this is that here you are in these situations in which you are being taken advantage of. You're being abused, but you are the one that's going through therapy when the person who really needs the therapy is your father. Am I right?
Yes.
That's the thing that gets me.
Yeah.
Did they ever try to come with you? Did you ever try to ask your parents, your father especially, to go with you to therapy to discuss that?
No. He denied it, until his death.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Remember when you called me when I was working that night and you told me about your family and how they are, they're wealthy, they're well off. This is how it makes what you say questionable, because the only way you can come from a background in which you was abused is because usually they come from a background in which they were abused.
Mm-hmm.
Just as it's a cycle within African American families, it's a cycle within white American families as well.
My dad had a tough row to hoe growing up. He was, they didn't call it abuse back then, but I certainly would call it abuse today. Now he did manage to get out of the hospital bed and sit at the dining room table with me. And he asked me to please remember that there were some good times too. And I think maybe that was his way of saying, I'm sorry, and I don't hate him. And I'm not angry because I felt like that he was not well.
The thing is,
That's good. I mean, I don't mean to, sorry, Perry,
go ahead.
Because that's good, because today now, my father is gone, and I still carry grudge against my father, the time that how he treated me when I was coming up. He never actually abused me, but I was, taught differently, because of my dark skin, He called me ugly, black, and stuff. This is my father did this to me. And I carry a lot of grudge behind that. But you find a way to forgive your father, and it's hard to forgive people that treat you so bad,
It is so difficult.
It's difficult, yes.
But you can't. How can you just keep moving forward, dragging that behind you? You have to let it drop and let it go. And it wasn't really until I started speaking. This is the first time I've spoken publicly about this. But it wasn't until I realized it wasn't my fault. I don't have to bow down. I don't have to avoid the truth. Until that time, my self-esteem was nothing. But now, it's changed. I quit going to all those therapy appointments. I started studying cognitive behavioral therapy and neuro-linguistic programming. Through what I've learned there, I began to shed a lot of old beliefs and started becoming stronger. My work as a justice advocate, I love. So I have my accreditations now in both cognitive behavioral therapy and neuro-linguistic programming. So I've got a life coaching packet that I want to work with people who are reentering, because getting out is not enough. You've got to fix what has happened to you in order to be able to be free enough and strong enough to move on.
Would you say that in hindsight, that you should have blown the whistle? Should you have spoke up to somebody? Should you have maybe gone to the authorities? Maybe in hindsight, do you regret not coming forward about this to the authorities or somebody else that probably would have supported you in this revealing of this relationship between you and your father?
That's a tough question, Perry. You
This
know,
is part of New York City. We get
part
down
of
to the nitty gritty because this is what the audience is interested in. Go
yeah,
ahead.
well, and part of me thinks, yes, I wish I would have, because I could have gotten out of that situation. The other part of me thinks my mother didn't work. There were 5 other children at home other than me. So by doing that, every single one of them would have suffered had I done that. So no, I don't think if I went back, I don't think I would do it. I could stand to see the other family members suffer because of me.
Was drugs a part of this scene that you've been through?
No.
Okay. No drugs, just a physical and emotional and mental abuse. The thing is that you said your father was the man who took care of the family, your mother didn't work. Do you suspect that your mother knew what was going on? Do you suspect that maybe she may have known but didn't want to speak up about it? Because
I don't think she knew.
you mentioned
I
that
don't think she
people
knew.
told you not to say anything.
Yeah. And no, I don't think she knew at all. Now, after my father passed away, my mother and I talked about it. I told her, and she cried and she said, "Why didn't you tell me? I would have gotten you out of that. I would have done something." But I don't know that she would have, and I'll tell you why.
I was about to ask you that.
I'll tell you why.
Mhm.
My oldest sister, joined the army when she was 18. She was a quiet. She didn't hang around, with a lot of friends. Didn't go anywhere. Didn't do a lot. And I remember her coming home from the army on leave, and she was happy. She said she had met someone, and we were all so happy for her that she had. But then, she said, "Well, he's black." I remember I was 6. I was standing by the steps. 3 of my other sisters were standing there. We were just like stair steps, and I was the youngest girl, and things just got really bad, really bad. I remember he hit her. She fell to the ground. He began kicking her, and she crawled to the table leg and was holding onto the table leg. He didn't stop, and I could see the blood, but he didn't stop until he got so dizzy that he couldn't continue. And I remember my mother in the background saying, "Stop it, or I'm calling the police. Stop it, or I'm calling the police." But she didn't. And I came downstairs the next morning, and I said, "Where's Terry? I want to see Terry." I shouldn't have said her name. I wish I wouldn't have said her name. But anyway, I was told, "Well, she's asleep, and you can't see her right now. She's not feeling well." So the next day she was gone. She had gone back to the army immediately. But then a few weeks later, she sent my mother a beautiful vase of flowers from a flower shop, with a note in it saying, "I love you." So, I don't think if she would have known, she would have been able to do anything.
So your sister got involved in an interracial relationship, and he abused her. Did I read that right?
Correct. My father beat her because she was seeing a man of color.
So it wasn't her husband, the man of color, that did that to her. It was your father.
My father, she was home on leave from the Army.
Okay.
You know, I never understood why women stay with abusive men that much like that. I mean, as a mother, if you see your husband abusing your child, it's like, you know, I can't deal with this. Some women leave, some stay. But so sorry to hear all of that.
I think at the time, you know, she still had children at home and, you know, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to go, how to do it. My dad was very well respected and loved.
Mm,
Of course, they didn't know, you know, they didn't know what was going on behind closed doors.
mm,
That's the problem,
See,
you know. And
this
that,
reminds me of, this shows you how people will hide behind anything. They will hide
mhm.
behind any smoke screen and mirror. Do you remember the BTK killer of Wichita, Kansas?
yes,
How he hid in the church
Mhm.
while he was murdering women by going to the gym to work his hands out and make them stronger so that they have a tighter grip around the necks of the women that he strangled. Yet he would go to church on Sundays and be a deacon, and he was well respected in the community because they found out who he really was.
This concludes this session of the Hustle's Corner in New York City. If you are a person that's incarcerated and you have books that you'd like to get out and you want to share your story, come share your story on the Hustle's Corner New York City Tales from the Pit series. If you are a person who has been wrongfully convicted of a crime that you did not commit and you want to share your story, come share your story on the Hustle's Corner New York City Victims of the System series. If you are a person who has been self-reformed, active in the community, came out of a past nefarious life to a more positive one, and you want to share your story, come share your story on the Hustle's Corner New York City Legends of the Hood series. If you are a Black business owner and you want to share your story of how you got your business off the ground and how you faced many challenges to succeed, come share your story on the Hustle's Corner New York City Black Business Movement series. If you are a musician or an artist or a vocalist or a rap, a hip hop artist, and you want to share your story about your career and how you have grown it into success, come share your story on the Hustle's Corner New York City On the Grind series. And if you are a woman who has been through traumatic times in her life only to overcome them, come share your story on the Hustle's Corner New York City Lipstick Stories series. And if you're enjoying the show, please help us grow. Show your love. Like, share, leave a comment, and most of all, subscribe. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you again. This is Perry Odell from the Hustle's Corner New York City.